Hello, I'm Jenna Roberts with Present Path Tarot. This channel is all about everything divination, from intuition skill building to learning the archetypes of the cards. I'm a tarot teacher and reader. I love this art, and I hope you'll join me by subscribing to my page. I'm going to be starting a new online live tarot reading class next week, and if you're curious to join that, please go to presentpathtarot.com/classes. If you missed the one that we're doing next week, I'm going to be running them regularly, so join my email list to keep in the loop of the next opportunity. Today, we're going to talk about how to clear your deck and yourself. So we're going to tie together 10 different methods that you can use to either clear your deck or yourself. So when do you want to clear your deck? I think it's a pretty intuitive process, and you should trust yourself with when you just feel it out. You could make it a ritual monthly at the full moon, but mainly is if you get a new deck, it's good to lay them all out and kind of do some technique to bring ownership to the deck with you by grounding with it. Or especially if you get a used new deck. So it's new to you, but taken from someone else, maybe bought at the store. I'm all for used decks as long as you feel their energy and sense that they feel right to you and your energy. So with used decks, I recommend that you do a couple of these techniques to reset it into your vibration. Another time you might want to reset your deck is if you give a reading and it feels a little wonky, or the person you're reading for's energy felt a little off or intense, then it's a good time to clear your deck as well. It's also nice to clear your deck if you go through a really challenging time, or if your deck goes through an accident, or just something happens. Maybe you go on if you get in a car accident and the deck is in the car with you, something like that, it's a good idea to clear your deck. And please drive safely. And of course, if you're ever feeling like the readings are kind of draining you, it's a good time to clear your deck. Another time you might want to clear your deck is if you shared it with someone else to use. I personally believe it's fine to share decks if you feel comfortable with that person's energy, but don't feel like you have to share decks with just anyone. Beyond sharing your deck, it's also a good idea to consider, what do you feel comfortable with other people even touching your deck? Some people are very protective and only they get to touch their deck and they pull the cards for the querent. Other people, like myself, allow the querent to pull the cards. This is all up to you, and it is a consideration in how you're caring for the energy of your deck. If you want to be very precious with it, go with that. If you're more casual, go with that. Trust your instincts around it and your comfort zone. Now, I read at events, and sometimes I have multiple decks, and so it can take a long time to clear them all. So there's various techniques, and some of them are fast and some of them are slower. You need to choose for yourself which one feels like the right one for your deck at that time. After reading for an event that maybe I read with 4 decks and had different options people could choose from, I might go a little deeper with the deck that got used the most, while maybe doing a lighter practice with the decks that only got used a little. Use your own discretion and trust yourself that you know what you're doing. As with all magical energy clearing techniques, your intention is key. So make sure that you are setting confidence in yourself that your technique is going to work perfectly for what you're intending to do that day with your deck. I like to consider the elements in relation to the different types of clearings that we do on our decks. And as the order of the elements goes, fire, cups, air, pentacles in the traditional Kabbalist form, and also from the Golden Dawn, we're going to go in that order of things, starting with fire. Obviously, we're not burning the deck, but there is another technique of having a candle near your deck. Allow that light to enter the deck as a sort of clearing. If you set that intention as you light the candle, be cautious about not leaving that candle out and about without attention on it. The most common form of purification with fire is with some sage. So I grew this in my own garden, which is a very satisfying process. And, it's lovely to have incense burning. Saging yourself before and after readings can be really powerful. When I was reading cards in New Orleans, I found that after a really intensive reading, the sage would burn a lot stronger. And so it made me very aware that sage is a legit form of cleansing your deck. Now, one thing about sage is that I like it because it's native to this land of America, but you can choose an incense from your culture that works for you. Or Palo Santo is another popular choice. If you're using Palo Santo, please know that some people just put oil on a wood of any kind, and if it burns black when the smoke right now is burning white, if your Palo Santo, when it's smoldering, is burning black, that means it's burning an oil, and that can be toxic. So be conscious with your Palo Santo that it's legitimate, pure stuff of good quality, which it's hard to know because all different trees produce a slightly different quality. I like to then always have a tray nearby. This is a really pretty little glass seashell that I can smudge out my smudge on, right? So that's the most fire-related technique for clearing your deck. In the fire category, I feel like fire has to do with energy and waves of energy, and so I would also include the technique of clearing your deck or yourself with sound. There's different techniques for that, from using bells like I just did, or having a nice shaker, and you can kind of shake around the deck to be like dispel any energy from it and set your intention in your mind as you do so. You also can shake out yourself, and it's nice to have a good wand. This is a really fun one that's a piece of dried seaweed rattle. And I also recommend doing sound, sage, and bell clinging for clearing your home and your space that you read in as well. Those are really excellent techniques. Another way to clear your cards with sound is to have a nice speaker system and place your cards on top of the speaker system with some high vibrational music going on. Perhaps some mantras or just some beautiful sounds that feel like they clear your body, then that would probably be good for your cards as well. And don't worry about it being super loud. You don't have to see the cards move for the reverberation to go through the cards. Subtlety is power. So allow your cards to sit on the speakers playing at a normal volume. You don't need to blast the sound through them. And play music that's at a higher vibration, like mantras, or I think acoustic music has a higher vibration. But whatever albums really feel like they resonate through your soul, allow those to go through the cards as well. You also can chant mantras with your cards. Whatever ones feel resonant for you, I think would be great for your cards. I learned a mantra in India that I really like. The Gayatri mantra is beautiful, and I also use Om Trayambakam, which is a mantra for clearing and healing. So I think that's a great one to use for myself. But find the mantras and songs and words that feel like they resonate with clearing for you. Fire purifies, and I think it's one of the most common and powerful forms of clearing energy. Another thing you can do is if someone walks up to your table and they're, a little funny energy, I like to light a little incense, just have a little incense ready to go so that you already have smoke burning when you're facing a reading that might be unique. The next category is water. Now, water is hard because obviously water and cards don't mix well together. What some people do is they might put their cards in a protective, I like glass better than plastic, even though the lid is plastic, in a protective container, and then they can put it in water, but make sure that it's a very well sealed container. Test it before you do this. Another way to take care of bathing with water is to put your cards in the moonlight. So, and you can mix this with the Epsom salt technique as well. So you can put your cards out on a full moon night in a glass bowl. Obviously you don't need a lid for that. But another thing you can do for yourself is Epsom salt bathing. So you just get some, it's really cheap and affordable. You just get some basic Epsom salts. I recommend the kind that don't have any fragrances in them, unless they're pure, natural, essential oil fragrances. There's a lot of toxicity in fragrance, and as someone who gets allergies easily, I think it's just good to keep your deck clear of all that energy too. Soaking yourself in a nice bath of Epsom salts and maybe some baking soda is a wonderful way to clear yourself energetically. But obviously you can't put your cards in Epsom salt bath, but you can just put them in salt. However, salt will wick the moisture out of the paper of the cards. So you want to put them inside a plastic bag and then put them inside a bowl with salt around them. That's the best way to make sure that the cards are safe while still getting the benefits of the salt pull. Salt obviously can also relate to the earth, but because I relate it to my bath time, I call it the water category. The moonlight relates to water because it pulls the ocean tides in and out. And so I consider moonlight to be a water cleansing technique for the cards. I think that that's a nice thing to do on a full moon evening, is place your cards out on the south end of your house if you're in the northern hemisphere, opposite if you're in the southern, and allow the moonlight to really sit into the cards. You yourself can also do moonlight bathing by making sure to go outside and being conscious of the patterns of the moon. So we all love the full moon, but it's really wonderful to go out on other nights like a crescent moon and just take in that particular flavor of its energy. The next category is air, and you might even see tarot readers blow on their deck. I'll do this if I'm giving multiple readings in a row and I feel like that last reading was a lot. I'll just clear out the cards a little bit. And then for myself, just take in some very conscious breaths. I usually make it a minimum of 3 conscious breaths. And sometimes I'll do that with the client to reset myself and give myself a grounding moment. Another thing you can use are essential oils when you're trying to get yourself to be more conscious of your air breathing, because that smell will make you breathe more deeply. I have a nice little vial here of grounding mix made by someone at Be Well Oiled. And this is a mix of white fir, vetiver, basil clove, and bergamot. I love it. And it just smells good and it lightens things up and it refreshes me. And these particular choices of herbs are ones that are great for grounding. So that really helps me feel rooted again in a nice way through an airy technique. Mix of water too, if you think about it. Another aspect that I consider to be an air purpose, because it puts things in logical order, and air is swords and swords are logic, is to put your cards in order based on their suit. So I like to lay them all out, and wands, pentacles, pentacles, swords, cups, and major arcana, and then I put them in order according to their suit and their number. And then I put them in order from there, major arcana on the top, followed by fire, cups, swords, and pentacles. This is a way for me to feel like it's a factory reset of my cards. I have now told my cards that we are new and fresh together and starting a journey all anew. I will admit, I don't do this very often, but if you're storing away your cards for a while, say you have a deck that's very pretty and you enjoy looking at it, but it's not one that you're reading with much, I always like to make sure I'm putting my cards away in this fresh, renewed order. It's okay if you put your cards away without reordering them, but it's nice to every once in a while then check in on them, maybe reorder them or clear them with some sage, give them some attention if you're going to just leave them aside. An equivalent for yourself to be given this experience of reorder is to meditate. I think that if we meditate and scan through the chakras from top to bottom and then bottom to top, that's a way of what I consider to be reordering and resetting myself. Another thing you can do is you can meditate with your deck. So you can imagine in you a ball of golden light, and it's emanating out through your body. Take it nice and slow, and as it does, it's also going through the cards. So you're holding the cards and you're imagining this clearing golden orb to wash through your energetic field as well as the card's energetic field together. That's another thing that you can do to kind of reset with your cards. Finally, last but not least, we have earth. So earth can relate to the idea of the salt bath as well, in the sense that you're putting it in an earthy mineral. Clearing yourself with earth, it's great to go outside, put your feet in the dirt without any shoes on, do some gardening, go into a forest and go forest bathing. There's been a lot of evidence that doing things like forest bathing is incredibly rejuvenating. Get yourself out forest bathing and maybe bring your deck with you to ground there. For your cards to get some grounding, what you can do is you can put them inside an earth-proof, waterproof case of some kind and put them out and dig a hole and bury them in the ground. And if you prefer to not use plastic, you can find a cigar box that some of these are very well made to make sure that they don't get any air. They're pretty airtight, watertight, but you can bury your cards, and that's a very powerful reset. I consider touch to be an earth aspect, and so make sure you're getting yourself some massages regularly and maybe some Reiki. But for your cards, a lot of people knock 3 times to reset the energy. And sometimes we also can say that shuffling them is resetting them, and that's another option you can do that has to do with touch and grounding them. The other thing is you can just hold them as you pray or meditate, in a sense to just feel their physical form and really regard that. I think the earth category also has to do with really being appreciated, and so holding your cards and maybe looking at them and really taking in the beauty of each card, I think, is another way to earthenly ground your cards with appreciation and gratitude for their beauty. For yourself, instead of knocking, you can do what's called emotional freedom technique, which is called tapping. And there's a pattern they do with tapping on different parts of the body to do different ways of reset for yourself. Look it up. It's a fun technique, and I have friends who swear by it. I haven't tried it enough yet though. Another sort of touch technique is combing. So some people, you can kind of comb the energy off and sort of wick the energy off your cards with touch. And you can do the same to yourself, just kind of clearing your energy field with a combing technique through the air around you and your energy field and over your body where you feel like you've kind of gotten tendrils attached. So that's another way to kind of clear yourself energetically from a grounding of clearing off the cords that come through reading. And last but not least is our friend the crystal, which I'm just learning about really. And what I understand is that selenite is one of the more powerful for clearing things out because selenite also clears other stones. Quartz is known to be another great stone that kind of clears the energy from the cards. But you want to clear your quartz while selenite never needs to be cleared. I personally just invested in a beautiful selenite charging station. So I'm going full woo here. And this is supposed to pull the energy from the cards, and also I can use it to clear my other stones as well. One thing you need to know about selenite is it's very easily damaged. You have to be very careful not to drop it or break it because it's fragile, and also it is never supposed to get wet. So being conscious not to ever wipe it with damp cloths and things like that. You just leave it dry. That's the best way. For clearing yourself with stones, obviously you can buy pretty jewelry pieces that feel like they clear you. You can also lay and meditate with stones on you, or you can put them under your pillow. So, you know, different ways of using the crystal engagement. Be conscious when you're getting a used deck that you either find or get at a thrift store or are gifted, that the energy feels right to you. You should feel that when you hold it in your hands, that you feel a nice energy around it or a neutral energy around it, and not anything that feels, I don't know, staticky in a bad way. The other thing is you want to make sure you're taking care of your decks by keeping them in a nice bag or container that feels like it just is keeping the protection of the actual physical form of the deck in good condition. I also say with physical protection of your deck that you can let people shuffle however they like if other people shuffle, but I tell them never to push the edges together and push them like that. That's bad juju on the deck because you're going to be scraping the edges of your pretty pictures. So don't allow that to happen. But otherwise, most shuffling techniques don't damage the deck as far as I've noticed. I think sometimes we focus a lot on how to take care of the deck energetically and not ourselves. I want to recommend that you remember to take care of yourself energetically, even more so than your deck, by creating a container at the beginning and ending of readings. That's just a short meditation of grounding into your body and into the earth, and at the end clearing and replenishing your energy. Please make sure you do that and watch my other video around how to take care of your body that way. Please leave comments as to how you use techniques to clear yourself energetically. There's so many out there, and this was just a small taste, as well as how you clear your own decks or any questions you have about how to clear decks. Thank you for listening today. Please subscribe to my channel, sign up for a class with me at presentpathtarot.com/classes, and continue to explore ways that you feel like you can resonate better with your deck in your readings and take care of yourself energetically as you read and your deck. Thanks for listening, and I hope I get to see you soon in either a class or a reading.